Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Euphrame, and this is your source for all things tech and gaming. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the ultimate showdown, the PS5 base model versus the brand new PlayStation 5 Pro. Is this upgrade worth your hard-earned cash? And how do these consoles stack up against a high-end gaming PC equipped with an RTX 4070? And I promise you, some of these results are gonna surprise you. Stick around. Now, I am a self-professed PlayStation fanboy. I have owned every PlayStation that Sony's produced. The PS1 was the first system I ever bought with my own money. So when I got a chance to get my hands on the PS5 Pro, naturally, I couldn't resist. Now, in Sony's latest console, the PS5 Pro, in marketing material, they boast of a 67% increase in GPU compute units and 28% faster memory compared to the base PS5. This, Sony says, translates to up to 45% faster rendering and delivering smoother and more immersive gameplay experiences. Advanced ray tracing capabilities provide dynamic reflections and refractions, enhancing visual realism. Additionally, the introduction of PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, which is an AI-driven upscaling technology, according to Sony, ensures super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail. Let's dive into Elden Ring. On the base PS5, the game delivers impressive visuals and stable performance, however, with the occasional frame drop. The PS5 Pro takes it a step further, offering enhanced texture details, improved lighting effects, and more consistent frame rates, providing a richer and more immersive experience that never dipped below 60 frames. Now, in terms of texture detail and ray tracing, the gaming PC and the RTX 4070 is really in a league of its own. However, it's hard to get above 45 frames with all the settings maxed. Now, a few things to consider. YouTube compression is going to reduce some of the detail that you would otherwise see on a 4K high refresh rate screen. And in person, after reviewing this footage, I found sitting approximately 5 to 10 feet away from the screen, the details are much less noticeable. So, for an older title like this, there is a slight visual improvement in terms of level of detail on the PS5 Pro. And in terms of draw distance, particles, ray tracing, can be comparable to the 4070. But zooming in really shows a different story in terms of those texture resolutions and lighting. Can you detect any differences between the base model PS5 and the Pro? Let us know in the comments. Now, in areas like the capital outskirts, you do notice a higher level of detail in the distance on the Pro, looking at those flowers. Thought this was really interesting. Barely a difference between the 5 and the Pro, slightly higher textures, but the 4070 almost looks like a different game. What are your thoughts? What do you prefer? Can you tell the difference between the 5 and the Pro? Let us know in the comments. Now, moving into the DLC, which is certainly a more graphically demanding section of the game. Keeping an eye on the ray tracing effects, I think I would have to go with the Pro. Of course, the 4070 looks great, but that frame rate is really struggling on max settings. We've got all three together. What's your preference? Let us know. In Baldur's Gate 3, the PS5 Pro's advanced hardware allows for higher graphical settings, which results in more detailed character models, sharper environments, and faster load times compared to the base PS5. And as we're waiting for this game to load, I'd like you to keep one thing in mind. Baldur's Gate and Elden Ring are both titles that are approaching 3 years old now. It serves to reason that, given some of the new technology and advancements that Sony has claimed to have implemented in the PS5 Pro, newer titles will be much more likely to be able to take advantage of things like the super spectral resolution and increased memory in the GPU. And we see we've got almost 5 seconds load time difference between the consoles. And as you may be able to see in these images, not drastically different, but this is one of those instances where if you are able to view this side by side on a 4K HDR screen, you would notice a slightly higher level of detail in the Pro and the way some of those textures pop in. Although, interestingly enough, I do prefer the water texture on the base Model 5. Now, if you have spent much time playing Baldur's Gate 3 on the PS5, you'll notice certain textures take quite a long time to load. It can be quite jarring and actually break the immersion as you encounter a really low-res texture and wait for it to load. Occasionally, you still encounter this on the Pro. You'll see the train tracks and it loads on the left, and we're still waiting for the base model to load the texture. This, to me, is one of those areas where the Pro really starts to stand out and really distinguish itself from the base model. In terms of future-proofing, considering there are some major releases coming up in 2025, like GTA 6, among others. So, who is the Pro for? Well, if you own the base model, it's a great system, and we've really barely begun scratching the surface and seeing what it's capable of. If you've not yet purchased the PS5 and you're looking to get one, if you've got the extra cash and some of the challenges getting one of those disk drives do not bother you, I think you can go with the Pro, and you will get a buttery smooth 60 frames upscaled 4K experience that really is hard to beat. Of course, if you value the highest graphical fidelity, ridiculously high frame rates, I think you need to go with the gaming PC. That being said, if you've got the base model and you've got a little extra spare cash, you would be much wiser to invest it in, say, a newer monitor or screen to get that HDR, to get that OLED. And I think that's going to be a much better investment if you're looking to improve your image quality with the base model PS5 than buying a Pro. I think it's about the same incremental increase in terms of image quality. That being said, as developers acquaint themselves with some of the new technology and capacity of the Pro, I think you'll begin to see it distinguish itself more from the base model. I suspect this will take a year or two toward the end of the PS5 lifecycle before you really begin to notice drastic differences in performance between the two. Are there any other games you'd like for us to take a look at and compare side by side, head to head? Let us know in the comments. So keep it locked here. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button. It costs you nothing, and it lets me know that this is the type of content you enjoy. So with that, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time.